Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about a very interesting and inspiring Hindi story called, which means The Cleverness of Laalmani. This story beautifully shows how intelligence, honesty and courage can help even a poor man change his destiny. So, let's begin this amazing story about a poor woodcutter named Laalmani who once saved the life of a king through his clever thinking and pure heart. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by thick forests, there lived a poor woodcutter named Laalmani. He was known in the whole village for his honesty and hard work. Every day, he went to the forest early in the morning, cut wood, and sold it in the market to earn enough to feed his family. Even though he lived in poverty, Laalmani never complained. He believed that honesty and hard work were more valuable than gold. One day, Laalmani went deep into the forest as usual to collect wood. The forest was peaceful, filled with the sounds of birds and rustling leaves. But that day, something strange happened. While cutting wood, Laalmani suddenly heard a cry for help. It was coming from inside the forest. He quickly dropped his axe and ran towards the sound. What he saw shocked him. A man dressed in royal clothes was tied up under a tree, surrounded by a group of bandits. The bandits were threatening him and demanding something valuable. Laalmani hid behind a big tree and observed. He soon realized that the man was none other than the king himself, who had come hunting in the forest and had been captured by these robbers. Laalmani knew he was just a poor woodcutter with no weapon except his axe, but he couldn't leave the king in danger. He quickly came up with a plan. He quietly collected some dry leaves and branches, set them on fire, and started shouting loudly, pretending as if the royal soldiers were nearby. He yelled, "Run! The king's soldiers are coming! Save yourselves!" Hearing his loud voice and seeing the smoke, the bandits panicked. They thought the royal army had arrived and fled from the spot, leaving the tied-up king behind. Laalmani quickly went to the king and untied him. The king, still frightened but relieved, looked at Laalmani with gratitude. He asked, "Who are you, brave man? You have saved my life without caring for your own safety." Laalmani bowed and said humbly, "Your Majesty, I am just a poor woodcutter. I did what anyone should do when they see someone in danger." The king smiled and said, "You are not just a woodcutter, you are a wise and brave man. Tell me, how can I reward you for this great act?" Laalmani replied softly, "My lord, I don't need any reward. It is my duty to help others. I am happy that you are safe." The king was deeply impressed by his humility and intelligence. He insisted, "No, Laalmani, I cannot let such courage go unrewarded. Come to the palace tomorrow." The next day, Laalmani went to the palace, wearing his simple clothes. The king welcomed him warmly and ordered his ministers to bring gold and jewels as a reward. But Laalmani said, "Your Majesty, I am thankful for your kindness, but I only wish for a small piece of land where I can build my house and live peacefully with my family." The king was surprised by his simplicity. He granted him not only a piece of land but also made him in charge of the royal forest. Days passed, and Laalmani continued his work with honesty. The people of the kingdom started admiring him. They respected how a poor man had saved their king with nothing but his intelligence. Laalmani became a symbol of wisdom and honesty, but as in every story, not everyone was happy about his success. Some ministers in the court grew jealous. They thought, how can a poor woodcutter get so much respect from the king? So they planned to trap him. One day, the jealous ministers went to the king and said, "Your Majesty, we suspect that Laalmani is secretly stealing wood from the royal forest and selling it for his own profit." The king was shocked. He didn't believe it at first but decided to test Laalmani. He sent his guards to call him. When Laalmani arrived, the king said, "Laalmani, people say you have been selling wood from the royal forest. Is this true?" Laalmani was surprised but remained calm. He bowed and said, "Your Majesty, you can send your men to check my house, my storeroom, and even my pockets. If they find a single coin that does not belong to me, I am ready to accept any punishment." The king agreed and ordered an inspection. The guards went and searched everywhere, but found nothing suspicious. Laalmani had nothing except his tools and his daily earnings. The king felt ashamed of doubting him. He realized that Laalmani was indeed pure-hearted. He punished the ministers who had spread false rumors and apologized to Laalmani. The humble woodcutter forgave them and said, "Your Majesty, it's okay. Jealousy makes people do wrong things. What matters is truth always wins in the end." The king was so moved that he made Laalmani his advisor for forest management and royal welfare. As time passed, Laalmani's wisdom helped the king solve many problems. Whenever the kingdom faced a challenge, Laalmani's smart ideas saved the day. His loyalty and cleverness made the entire kingdom prosper. The king often said, "A wise man like Laalmani is worth more than 1,000 soldiers." One day, a neighboring king attacked their kingdom. The army of Laalmani's king was smaller and weaker. Everyone in the court was worried. But Laalmani stood up and said, "Your Majesty, don't worry. I have a plan." He suggested digging a trench around the capital and setting traps in the forest path the enemy soldiers would take. He also advised sending some false information through spies to confuse the enemy. The king agreed and followed his plan. When the enemy army entered the forest, they fell into the traps. The soldiers got lost, and many of them were caught. Seeing this, the enemy king was forced to retreat. Once again, Laalmani's cleverness saved the kingdom. The king hugged him and said, "Laalmani, your intelligence is our greatest strength." From that day onward, Laalmani was known across the land as Laalmani the Wise. People told stories about how a poor woodcutter's cleverness not only saved the king's life, but also the entire kingdom. His name became a symbol of honesty, courage, and intelligence. Years later, when Laalmani grew old, the king visited him personally. He said, "Laalmani, you have been my greatest friend and guide. You taught me that wisdom does not come from wealth or position, but from a pure heart and a clever mind." Laalmani smiled and said, "Your Majesty, I have only done what my conscience told me was right." With those words, he spent his last days peacefully, loved and respected by everyone. Even after his death, people remembered him as the man whose clever mind and pure heart changed a kingdom. The story of Laalmani teaches us that no matter how poor we are, true intelligence, honesty, and courage can make us richer than kings. It reminds us that cleverness is not about tricking others, but about using our mind and heart to do good. So, this was the inspiring story of Laalmani's cleverness, a tale that shows how wisdom and kindness always win over greed and lies. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more beautiful and meaningful stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.